Welcome to Just City's Court Watch orientation. My name is Janae Gibson and I am the Court Watch Program Manager here. I'm incredibly grateful that you've chosen to volunteer your time to help us fight for a more just Memphis. In this video, I'll walk you through what you need to know so that you're prepared for your first court watching experience. For those who are unfamiliar with Just City, we are a criminal justice reform nonprofit, and our mission is to transform local criminal justice policy and practice to ensure fairness for all people, regardless of wealth, race, or ethnicity. We do that primarily here in Shelby County, but we do have some efforts across the state of Tennessee as well. Court watching is an integral part of this mission, but it is only one piece of the puzzle. Our other programs include our Clean Slate program and the Memphis Community Bail Fund. Our Clean Slate program helps guide people through the intricate process of expunging their criminal record so that they have better access to gainful employment, housing, and the relief that comes with just having a clean slate. The Memphis Community Bail Fund is a revolving bail fund where we pay bail amounts up to $5,000. Doing this helps provide minimal disruption to their family, and it prevents unnecessary detention to those who are being held simply because they cannot afford to pay bail. In addition to these programs, Just City does work in the community through efforts like targeted litigation, legislation, community education, and more. Much of our work is supported by our data scientists who automates program workflow by creating systems that help us serve the community better. He also collects and analyzes local criminal justice data to ensure that we are making data-driven decisions that have powerful outcomes. Now finally, Court Watch. Our program focuses on bringing transparency and accountability to the Shelby County Criminal Courthouse. As a volunteer, you play a pivotal role in doing that. You help bring what happens at 201 Poplar to light, a process which is notoriously hidden. Court Watch will also give you a new perspective to our legal system and inspire you to ask more questions and to help hold elected officials accountable. We know that the result is a more equitable and dignified criminal legal system. Now let's move into our Court Watch values. Number one, and this is the most important for us, is all people have inherent dignity, and we believe in a system that treats everyone accordingly. Number two, it is important to critically evaluate your beliefs regularly and to have an open mind to change your opinion when presented with new information. Number three, that we got from Brian Stevenson, is that each person is more than the worst thing they've ever done. And four, and finally, it does not have to be this way. Also came from Andre Henry. We believe in a system that can change, and we believe that the people like you and me are the ones who are going to make that change happen. If these are not statements that you agree with, then this might not be the program for you, and that is okay. We use our Court Watch values to help us inform our goals. We use these goals to drive our program forward as we evaluate what's happening in the legal system. So there are three goals. Number one, it is to provide transparency and encourage accountability in court. Number two, it is to advocate for the dignity and the respect of everyone in the courtroom. And finally, it is to provide accessible and credible information for Shelby County residents. We believe that everyone has the right to know what is happening in our courtroom, especially because so much of what happens in the courtroom affects us every day. If you're on board with those values and goals, the next step is just to join us. There are a few steps to becoming a member of our program, but a few of those you've already completed. Step one, of course, is to sign up to become a volunteer. You can do that either through our website at justcity.org, Volunteer Match, Volunteer Odyssey, or even through our volunteer handbook. Step two is to watch this orientation. After finishing this video, let us know that you've completed it by sending an email to courtwatch@justcity.org. Afterwards, you will receive an email from us that have a few links that will act as a reference guide for you. Included is our handbook for you to read over. It will have a lot of the same information that you've learned in this video and a few additional links that will be helpful for you as you prepare to court watch and throughout your experience as a volunteer. That follow-up email will also include a pre-court watch survey that we ask that you complete so that we can have just a little bit of knowledge about you. Step four, you're now ready to sign up for a session on Volunteer Odyssey. There's a link included in the handbook as well as that reference email. At your assigned time, you will attend your first session. Take notes and fill out the Court Watch rubric while you're watching. I, or another representative from Just City, will be there for your first shift to show you where to go, how to get into the courtrooms, and to answer any question that may arise as you're watching. If requested, someone will accompany you to more sessions until you are comfortable going on your own. And then finally, submit your notes by entering your CourtWatch ID to the link that is provided in that reference email. Your CourtWatcher ID will typically be your birth date. So my CourtWatcher ID is 0306 and my birthday is March 6th. Now, what is the CourtWatch commitment? The shifts run Monday through Friday, approximately 9 a.m. to about 12 p.m. However, shifts can run overtime or they can start late. In fact, court will almost always start a little bit after 9, but it is still beneficial for you to get there on time because there's more happening in the courtroom before the judge gets there. Now, we do have a few program requirements. In order to be considered an active member of our program and to qualify for our incentive program that we'll discuss later, you have to adhere to the following requirements. Number 1, each CourtWatch member must attend CourtWatch 6 times in a calendar year to be considered an active member. That is about once every other month. Each session is around 2.5 hours. Please make sure that you have at least 2.5 hours to observe at court. If you do not, please plan to go on a day that your schedule allows the time for you to stay the full session, because we miss things when we're either late or we have to leave early. We don't get the full picture of what actually happened in that courtroom that day. If you cannot make your scheduled session, that is okay. Just let us know at least 24 hours in advance unless it's an emergency. Of course, that's a different situation. Now, if you do miss 2 confirmed sessions without communicating, you will not be able to sign up again for a month, especially if it is your first time, because we typically will have people ready to accompany you that first time. It is important that you turn in your notes from court watching in a timely manner so that we can get the information out to the public as soon as possible. Now, if you do not turn in your notes from your court watching within a week of your session, you will be unable to sign up again until they are uploaded. If you decide to pause your court watch service, that is okay. Please just email us. We know that this can be really heavy for people and we want you to take care of yourself. Finally, when you are in court, you are a representative of Just City. Please be mindful of the things that you say and do while you're court watching. Now you're ready for your first court watch shift. Right here is the Shelby County Criminal Courthouse. This is where we'll meet you to guide you into your first time, but there are a couple of things I want you to know beforehand. Number 1 is just to eat a light breakfast. You can even bring gum or mints with you to help you stay focused. When court is going well, it is kind of boring, and so you don't want to focus either on how hungry you are or how tired you are because of how full you are. Now, second, just to arrive at the courthouse by 9 a.m. There is free parking a couple of blocks away from the courthouse or paid parking right outside. Be prepared to cover your own parking, so either get there right on time and pay the parking garage, or be prepared to just walk a couple blocks to be there on time at 9. I or another Just City representative will be there to greet you. We will meet you at the general public entrance and walk you through security and lead you to the courtroom that you're in. I will also provide you with a CourtWatch tote bag that is full of CourtWatch merch. You should mentally prepare yourself to be watching for 3 hours. There will be times that you cannot hear or see. Please just make sure that you document those. Be prepared for plenty of recesses or delays. If you are confused or overwhelmed your first time, please make sure that you ask the person who accompanied you any questions that you may have. It is normal to feel concerned, overwhelmed by your first day. And if you are by yourself on a subsequent time, just write your question down and send me a text or an email afterwards, and I'd be sure to answer you. Once your session is over, finish up any final notes you might have and upload them and sign up for another session. When you go to court, you may dress casually, but please make note that most judges require clothing to be worn neatly and fit appropriately. Make sure the shirts that you're wearing have sleeves and your shoes or clothes toed. We've had folks get kicked out or bothered for wearing sandals, casual clothing, and sleeveless tops, but you also don't need to wear a suit or anything too formal. Be sure not to disturb anyone or talk too much while court is in session, even if other people in the courtroom are. We want to be as respectful as possible, so write questions down to ask later. Face forward and take thorough notes. Feel free to bring a water bottle or a coffee in case you get thirsty. Courtrooms vary, but many will ask you to not put your arms on the pew in front of you or the pew that you're sitting on. You may use your laptop to take notes, but phone usage may not be permitted depending on which courtroom you're in. Make sure all of your electronics are on silent mode and abide by the instructions that the deputies give you, even if the deputies are not abiding by their own rules. Follow all courtroom directions, even if you do not agree or understand them. Now, if a courtroom is hesitant to let you in, remind them that you are with Just City Court Watch, and ask the deputies to check with the judge to make sure that you're able to enter. If you still have a problem, please contact me, and I will be there as quickly as possible. So we have now implemented an incentive program as just a token of our appreciation for the time that you take to volunteer. It works like this. At the end of each court watching session, you submit your notes. They will be approved as long as they are detailed enough. You will receive an email that keeps up with how many notes you've turned in. Once 5 notes are submitted, you will receive a $10 gift card of your choice. 10 notes and you'll receive a $50 gift card of your choice. Finally, 20 notes and you'll receive a $100 gift card of your choice. After 20, it will start back over from the beginning where 5, 10, 20. If you receive an email that states that there is not enough detail in your notes in order for them to be approved, that's very uncomfortable. But it's also no big deal. Just revise them as soon as you're able and resubmit them to make sure that each session that you volunteer for will count towards your total for the incentive program. Any feedback that you receive about notes not being detailed enough will be included, so you will know exactly what you will need to fill in. Now, we keep talking about taking notes and submitting your notes and paying attention so you can take good notes, but you might be wondering, what sort of notes am I supposed to be taking in the first place? When court watching, you will use a rubric that will be provided to you before your first shift, and you're able to either print them out or use them digitally as you go on. You will answer all the questions on that rubric as objectively as possible. The second page is just as important as the first, so make sure to pay close attention in order to fill each section out. You are free to take additional notes separate from the rubric if you'd like. When turning in your notes, do a final check to make certain that you've included your name, the judge's name, and the time that court started. Once we receive 10 complete sets of notes from each judge that we're focusing on, we can then produce our Court Watch reports to help the public understand what happens inside the courtrooms. If you're interested in looking at our past reports, you can find them on our website. Your first time court watching, and even after, you might not feel like you're qualified to evaluate a judge because they've been in the courtrooms their whole career and you just got there. But we're not asking you to evaluate their legal knowledge. On this rubric, what we're asking is for you to evaluate those judges according to your personal intelligence, moral compass, and common sense. In fact, you might find that you're more familiar than the judges that you're watching in some or all of these areas. You'll be asked 6 different questions in order to score the judge. Number 1, timeliness. How long was court actually in session? Did court start on time? How many recesses and breaks did they take before court ultimately let out? Number 2, fairness. Did the judge demonstrate fairness to everyone involved? 3, sensitivity. Did the judge handle each case with the sensitivity warranted? 4, ability to hear. Were you able to hear? 5, communication. Did the judge communicate what was happening? 6, control. Did the judge control the court? You will rate the quality of each judge in each of the categories on a 1 to 4 scale, with a score of 4 being the best and a score of 1 being the worst. At the end of your session, you will total up your scores. The first time that you court watch, you might not feel as if you're able to adequately rate how fair judges or how communicative they are. So it can be hard to know what to look for or even why these qualities matter. So here's how we recommend understanding these questions. First, how long was court actually in session? Court is supposed to start at 9, but you'll find that judges will start well after sometimes. Judges may also take long recesses or finish work in the early afternoon or even right at noon. Take note of when recesses begin and end, as well as when court begins and ends. Did the judge demonstrate fairness? It is crucial that judges are impartial in their decision making and treat everyone in the room the same. Otherwise, the judge might be making a biased or unjust decision. Notice if the judge makes an unfair ruling and how they treat different groups of people. Did the judge handle each case with the sensitivity warranted? Criminal court judges are often dealing with incredibly emotionally complex situations, and it is important that they know how to navigate the situations with sensitivity and treat each person with dignity. No one is the worst thing that they've ever done. Whether it's prosecutors, defense attorneys, victims, or the accused, it is important that judges respect everyone in the courtroom. Were you able to hear? It is important to be able to hear because otherwise no one except the people in the front of the room knows what's actually happening in court. Notice if the judges and lawyers are speaking loudly and clearly and whether or not they're using the microphones provided in the room. Did the judge communicate what was happening? When you're court watching, you'll notice there are a lot of times where the judge has to explain something to someone in the courtroom. Explain what's happening or what will happen to a defendant, explain someone's rights, or explain why they made a certain ruling. Judges should be explaining things clearly so that the defendants and other people in the courtroom can understand what's happening. Notice if a judge is taking a time to explain what's happening and if they're using the language the average person can understand. Did the judge control the courtroom? Judges should try and maintain an organized, efficient, and professional courtroom. This doesn't mean that they should be rude in order to maintain control, but notice if they're making sure that people aren't talking out of turn, if their deputies are engaged and professional, and if it appears that they are spending their time wisely and respectfully. We reached the end. Thank you for coming alongside with me through this whole video and listening to me talk the entire time. If you have any questions or concerns as you move through the process, the handbook that will be sent to you right after you let me know that you watched this will contain a lot of answers, as well as a helpful glossary that will help you understand courtroom proceedings. However, if you do have an additional question that is not answered in that handbook, please feel free to contact me at yanae@justcity.org. See if the answer is on the website at justcity.org, as well as text me at my phone number of 601-502-4932. Feel free to follow us on Instagram as well at justcitycw. Finally, thank you so much for your interest in helping us court watch. With your help, we can create a more transparent and fair legal system and a more just city. We look forward to seeing you soon.